Hey, Advisor Nation. Before we dive in, please follow and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Now, I'd like to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Dr. Bradley Nelson. He's a best-selling author of The Emotional Code and The Body Code, and we're grateful for your support of the show. Now, today on The Advisor, I'm really excited because I'm thrilled to talk with Shane Barker. He is a digital marketing strategist. He is the author and the founder of TraceFuse.ai, a company helping brands protect their Amazon reputation and growth. Shane's known for sharpening SEO influencer and e-commerce strategies, and now he's building in Amazon ecosystem as the founder. Now, it is awesome to have you on the show, and I just want to jump in because I want to unpack your brain and unpack all this great information that you have. Now, what pain did you see in the market that sparked you to, want to open up TraceFuse?
Yeah, so really for me, I always wanted to have like a software, like a SaaS, software as a service or something like that. But I never really, grew up in the SEO and grew up in influencer marketing, and those were all, I felt a little saturated. There was a lot of, competition, a lot of people that were doing softwares that actually friends of mine that I knew. So, I'm not shy about competition, but I was like, I want to try something different, right? I'm gonna do something that maybe that's unique. And so it took me years. I was really trying to figure out what angle, and I'm not a developer myself, so trying to find a developer that was obviously, a challenge. But the
Yeah.
good part was I had, clients of mine that were my main company that is shanebarker.com. For my personal brand, I was working with a lot of clients that were in the Amazon space, more direct to consumer, and also at Amazon, either on the side or was their main revenue stream. And I was asking everybody, hey, what is your biggest pain point with Amazon? Like, where can I help? And everybody said reviews. That was, pretty much one of those things. They said, hey, we don't think you can remove critical reviews, critical being 1, 2s, and 3 stars. And so we don't think that was possible. So if you guys could crack that code, that would be awesome. And so, as I told you earlier, I was like a little too cocky, I would say. I was like, oh, yeah, give me a few weeks, maybe a month or two. We'll figure this out. Not a problem. Well, it took us 2 years to crack the code. So it was not as easy as I imagined. I will
Yeah.
tell you, out of all the platforms, whether it be Yelp or Google or any of those, Amazon is the most difficult to remove reviews. And when I say remove reviews, that's not just reviews that you don't like. Those are reviews that violate Amazon's own rules, right? Where they
Right.
cut, pricing, mention competitors, hate speech, anything like that. Putting links in there, and then also anything FBA related. So if it's something we ship late, broken, or used, those are all things that we take a look at because that's not a representation of the product. That's the shipping or maybe something that happened there. So, yeah, after 2 years, the good part was is that we kind of cracked the code up. We didn't kind of crack the code. We did crack the code. And
Yeah.
when I say that the 2 years, that's not like me just working for an hour on the weekend. Like we were working all through the week trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
And now we have, I'm proud to say we have 600 brands we work with, and we removed over 14,000 reviews. So we're very, very
Wow.
proud of that number because when I first told people we could do this, people just didn't believe it was possible. They said, hey, we've never heard of a company like this. And we have been in Amazon for I don't know how long, and we have all these connections, and we still can't get it done. And so now we're at a great point where we've, got some amazing customers, amazing clients, and good things are happening. So I'm very, very happy and once again, very proud of the brand that we built here.
That's amazing because it is very hard to get anything removed from Amazon. Any of those review sites, it's very difficult. But to be able to get through, Amazon, a lot of times Amazon, I've known people that they've gotten their reviews taken off, but they kept the low star there. But even though it was a fake person or it wasn't a real review, and to me that wasn't fair for a lot of people that I knew, and we were talking before the show, there's so many people out there that, pay other people just to get fake reviews. So when you're reading about a product, is it really what it says it is, a lot of times the customer could be getting scammed also.
Yeah, that's some one of the things that we look at is we look at whether we think somebody used a fraudulent account. On Amazon, it's called the sock puppet account. But if somebody, maybe a competitor, has a buyer's account and they're buying your products and buying them over and over and over and giving you 1 stars, then what happens in our system, because we have monitoring, so we monitor ASINs or SKUs. And so what happens is if it'll detect it in our system, and our system will flag it, and then we have filers, which are humans. I tell people that so they don't think it's AI, but we have it isn't because it's humans, but they'll go and take a look at it, and they just happen to buy your competitors' products and only gave them 5-star reviews, and the products are very similar, then we
Yeah.
would file an escalation case with Amazon and say, hey, we feel like there's something fraudulent going on here. That was one of the big things for us was the reason why I started the company was not just to remove these reviews, but really to even the playing field. It was more of a fraud thing for me of
Yeah,
saying, hey, it's already hard enough to run a business, right? I mean, you have between PPC costs and tariffs and this and that, there's a million
yeah,
things that happen. And so my goal was is to take away the review things as a headache for sellers. Right. They've got a million things to worry about when it comes to Amazon. For us, we created TraceFuse to be really what we call a set it and forget it software, where you activate your ASINs, and now we're monitoring those. And if any bad reviews come in, our AI automatically detects it, and we'll be filing cases a few days later to get those removed. And they only pay for reviews that were removed. They don't pay for cases being filed because that would be too expensive because it takes a lot to be able to get through to Amazon. So,
right.
once again, we built it so that it would be very, very, like pretty much no risk for the sellers.
That's wonderful. Now, from consultant to founder, like what mindset shift you to have to make go from advising brands to building software services like this?
Yeah, it was a transition. I mean, it's still advising people and it's still helping people, which has always been my big thing. I
Yeah,
obviously do enjoy money and I enjoy building businesses, but for me, really helping is really a big thing for me because it's like I said, there's a million things you have to figure out as an entrepreneur, right? And there's always these struggles, and I always figure out, okay, like what can I do to make this easier for you, right? And so, what is
yeah,
the big headache that I can take away from you? And so we were very fortunate, as I said, after 2 years to crack that code because the review system on Amazon it's the lifeline of Amazon. I mean, we all, whether you realize you do it or not, the minute you go to
yeah,
Amazon, you look at reviews. That's the instant thing that we do. And if you have bad reviews, people usually won't give you a second chance. You're on to the next product, right? So,
yeah,
unless it's a patented, unique product and you heard about it, then maybe you might give it an opportunity. But your reviews, we've seen anywhere if you go from like a 4.3 to a 4.2, we have clients before they signed up with us that they're losing 10 to 50% of their sales because you lose that half a star. So it shows 4 stars instead of 4.5 stars, and which is the psychology behind that is pretty incredible just because the people obviously they see the 4.5 stars and they feel comfortable. They only see 4 stars and they want to start asking questions. So there's something behind that number, that 4.3 to 4.2, that we found is pretty incredible. And most of our clients start off, they come to us and they go to a 4.2 and they go, hey, we need you to get us back up in our sales. We need to figure this out, which is, I always try to encourage sellers to be more, proactive instead of reactive because
yeah,
when you're reactive, that means your sales have already plummeted, right? You're already losing money. That's why we have our monitoring. If you sign up, you're worried about, Christmas coming up. You sign up today, guess what? We can start moving some reviews. We're monitoring. We're really going to be protecting you, which is going to be peace of mind, right? I mean, that's really what we're
yeah,
selling there is peace of mind, and they once again only pay for reviews that get removed. They're not paying for anything else other than results. So once again, the risk is minimal, but I think the upside is amazing because once again, you got a million other things to worry about with your business. Go focus on growth, on other things that can drive revenue, while we take care of the reviews and keep you at a good star rating and keep you at a good BSR.
that's awesome. Now, how did you prove demand, like pilot customers or the wait list or a specific use case that clicked?
Yeah, so we actually what we did those for those 2 years we were testing it on. We had sellers that we were friends with, and we they let us
Hmm.
use their accounts to file cases and see what was working. We had a number of sellers that we were working with, and that was kind of what we did. I mean, we our goal is never to put any seller's account at jeopardy with Amazon, so we're very very conservative. We follow their
Yeah,
TOS like I mean that we it's I always tell people, and this is me joking but not joking. I treat every business like it's my mom's business, and I always tell people I really
yeah,
like my mom. I love my mom, in fact. So at the end of the day, I treat it that way of like, hey, we're going to, if Amazon says you can do this, we're doing this, right? We're always going
right.
to be way, way below that threshold because, at the end of the day, this is how people feed their families, right? And I
Yeah,
take that very, very seriously. And so, for us going in and trying to figure this out and really making sure that we knew what we were doing, that's where what took those 2 years, right? And really kind of figure
yeah,
out what we got going on there. And once we said, hey, we feel cool with launching this, because I wouldn't have launched if I felt that I was ever going to put anybody's account in jeopardy. That's just not, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I don't, I've had, it doesn't matter the amount of money, doesn't matter that. For me, it's more of like just ethics and doing the right thing. And so there was a point where we almost didn't launch. I mean, before that 2 year mark, because I was like, man, are we ever going to figure this out? This was just not an
yeah,
easy process. And when we finally did, I was like, okay, awesome. Now I feel comfortable with bringing this to the masses. And we've had, once again, some phenomenal success. And, is every single client super, super happy? No, of course. We have expectations. We have things they'd like for reviews to be removed faster, but we got to stay compliant with Amazon. So,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, we have some clients that are just, we have some video testimonials that are just amazing from clients that we've had nothing but amazing results from. So I'm very, very proud of that. I get more excited when I get a video testimonial from a client than I do from getting a new client. Like a video testimonial where they're saying, "Hey, you just doubled my sales because of what you guys do." Like
Yeah.
that just makes me glow because at the end of the day, that's now now they can have another baby and feed more kids. I just look
Yeah.
at it like another family's going to be taken care of because of our service. So
Right.
I love that. I love that. It makes me very proud.
I love that. Now, TraceFuse alone in one line, like what problem do you solve better and faster than alternatives and for whom?
Yeah. So really our obviously our core client is going to be Amazon sellers. We focus on the US, UK, and Canada. Those are the three platforms that we focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And really the way that we do things better, I mean, because we really didn't even have any competition when we started. So we do have a few players, smaller players. And once again, for me, competition, we talk about that. Competition to me is not a problem. What I mean by that is I would love for somebody to come and have a product that's similar to ours and that helps sellers. There's plenty of room for everybody. I'm not a like, oh, it's just us, nobody else. Like I
Exactly.
don't have an issue with that. Like I have an abundance mindset. So at the end of the day, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, guess what? We can all make money, right? As long as we don't talk bad about each other, which I would just never do. I don't, it's we deal in reviews, we deal with people sabotaging, people doing things. As long as you're not doing that and you're being honest about the program or the things that you have,
Yeah.
once again, there's 1.9 million sellers on just the US platform, and we have 600 brands. So there's plenty of room. And as long as you're doing the right thing and helping people, hey, I encourage people to come on. In fact, we'll talk about this later, but we actually have a way, it's called an Amazon review checker, that sellers can actually go in, put in their ACE into their SKU, and it'll pull a report from them. They can file on their own. And that's a free
Yeah.
tool that we offer to sellers because I would love for them to be able to figure it out on their own and not have to pay us, which sounds kind of counter, intuitive. But at the end of the day, for me, if they can figure it out and they can do it and don't have to pay us, that's awesome. Like, right?
Yeah.
Because that, once again, this is how they feed their family. If they can save some money there, because some sellers have small margins, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't make sense for our price point, and that's okay. I'm okay with that, but that doesn't mean I don't want to help them somehow, right? So if you can
Right.
pull that own report and you can now see what's in violation in your last whatever 10, 15, 20 reviews, which ones are in violation of Amazon's guidelines, well, now you can file on your own. You can use a lot of the same reports that we use when we file with Amazon. So, my thing is I want to offer the keys to the castle, and if they can't figure it out or it doesn't work or they, a one person team and they just don't have the time for it, well, we'll always be here to help. I mean, that's kind of the goal.
Right. I love that. I love that. Now, review management is sensitive. How do you ensure the Amazon policy alignment while delivering results?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, it's fully compliant. I mean, our thing is like compliance means that, there's no manipulating reviews on Amazon. There's no reaching out to customers. There's
Hmm.
none of these things. We don't do anything like that. We never reach out to customers. Anything Amazon changes their guidelines, we're going to be on top of it. We see it because we have AI and everything that sees if there's any changes. For
Yeah.
us, it's, if Amazon says, hey, once again, I said, let's say you can only do this, we're going to be doing half of that, right? So
Right.
another thing that we do is if Amazon, we file a case with Amazon, a lot of sellers will ask for updates every day. Amazon doesn't encourage that, right? At the end of the day, they're going to get
Yeah.
you when they can. Let's say after 10 days, let's say it's brand registry that we filed with. On the 10th day, if Amazon doesn't respond to us, we are going to ask for an update because we know that internally they have 10 days to wait, or
Yeah.
10 days to respond. And so, we're looking at that. That's where our process, where people come to us and say, hey, I want 30 reviews removed. Well, that's probably not going to happen, right? Because
Right.
I would never do anything to put your account in jeopardy. And I've had a few brands that have said, hey, just do it. And I said, I'm just not going to do that because it's against Amazon's guidelines. And I don't ever want to put your account in jeopardy. That's just not, and you shouldn't want that from me either, right? Like I want
Yeah.
to do things ethically. I want to do things the right way. It's a little bit of a slower process because once again, we're filing, 5, 10, 15 cases at a time. And obviously the more reviews, more critical reviews they have, the more that we can file on and the more that we can get removed.
Yeah.
But for us, it's all about compliance. It's all about making sure that we keep our name good in the industry and really help people. That's really always been my number one goal.
I love it. I love it. Now, tech stack and edge, like where does AI or automation create leverage in your workflow, and where do humans stay in that loop?
Yeah. So we would, in the beginning, we would have humans or people that would take a look at the reviews and they would look at them. We'd figure out if they were in violation or not. Then we would, be filing cases. Well, we started to get a little too big. And so it was like, okay, our shifts were only about 4 hours because the reason why that was is because you don't really want to stare at reviews for 8 hours. That's when mistakes start to happen, right? In that second four
Yeah,
hours, because we're humans, there's only so much our eyes can take. And some people can have better knowledge when it comes to things, and other people want to shut down after 2 hours. So four
yeah,
hours was that sticky point for us where we said, hey, no, no, nothing more than 4 hours with
right.
humans or people looking at that. And so we realized it's like, wait a second. What happens if we used AI? This was 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. So this was before, Chat GPT and Perplexity and all the other, Gemini, all these things that are coming out. And so we
Yeah,
looked at this and said, hey, how can we educate this, keep feeding it information and data to be able to make it a machine? And so that's what we did. And so we were able to create that. So now what happens was we moved our filers, or the people that were looking at the reviews, over to the filing. So now all they do is file reviews. So what we do is because we're obviously looking at thousands and thousands of reviews, we run those to the AI. The AI just tells us whether it's compliant with Amazon's guidelines or not. If it is compliant, we don't do anything with those. We just move those aside. There's nothing wrong with them. You might not like them, but there's nothing to file on. We look at the reviews that violate Amazon's guidelines. Once again, somebody using an F word in a review or something, we look at that and say, we know that's the F word. You shouldn't be using the F word. Amazon doesn't want those types of cuss words on the platform. So that's why we feel comfortable with filing a case. If Amazon shuts the case down, doesn't do anything, we feel comfortable filing another one, because nobody at Amazon should look at that and say, "Oh, the F word. Let's keep that on the platform." Right? That's definitely
yeah.
one that we shouldn't have on there. So that's kind of our angle, right? We go after the ones that are the most egregious, the ones that clearly we look at and say, "Hey, there's no debating," right? Like if somebody said this is a crappy product, crappy, I use that pretty free flowingly, right? It's not really a cuss word in my world, but but maybe in some people's world it is. And so those we have a lower success rate because guess what? People could go, crap's not that big of a word. But if I'm throwing the F bomb around, that's a little bit of a different kind of party, right? So that's
Yeah.
going to be a situation where we feel like very strongly that, hey, this should be removed. And the good part is I think Amazon already knocks down a lot of the reviews that obviously violate their own guidelines, but there's some that get through, and we're always here to catch them. They make it through the front line.
Now, what channels or content have been moved, that really like you said, move the needle the most, like case studies, communities, and partnerships?
Yeah, so for us, our the big wins have been partnerships, right? People really
Hmm.
finding out that we're a legit company, that we can remove reviews, and that we're fully compliant with Amazon. So that partnerships have been really, really great for us. Also, I do a lot of podcasts. Obviously, I've been in the podcast space for a long time, so that's awesome. We do cold outreach. We also do amazing job at SEO. My background's in SEO, so any keyword that we want to be number one for, a high percentage of them we're number one for them, and that's just because of hard work and good content. And
Yeah.
once again, we don't try to skip corners or do things. I mean, our thing is just putting in the work. We know if we put in the work that good things will happen. And then really just the partnerships have been huge because of people validating the business and saying, hey, I tried this with one of our customers. We had great results. Now we have 10 other customers. And so a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff that we do, my goal is always to have multiple like lead streams, right? I mean, because once
Yeah.
you have one and it gets shut down, then that sucks, right? Because if you just focus
Right.
on that, my thing is to diversify. So I've at all times it's either going to be PPC, SEO, some influencer marketing, partnerships, cold outreach, email campaigns, our newsletter. So I've built those all out. So if one thing fails, which it does on occasion, we have these other
Hmm.
things going, and then I'm looking for a new one. So I try to diversify, no different than you would stocks or anything. You want to put all your money into Amazon or Apple or something. And if something
Yeah.
happens, either it could be awesome or it's not. But if you diversify, then if something goes down, you still have these other, 4 out of 5 that are doing well. So that's kind of that was the
Exactly.
plan.
I like that. Now, do metrics really matter? Like, what do you track regularly or weekly? Like, what's the time to look at results and removal rate and so forth?
Yeah, so our software actually does all of that. So in the back end of the software, it'll show you when we filed cases, or sent emails to Amazon. You'll have that. It's called the action date, last action date. So they'll be able to see when that happens. And the reason why we
Hmm.
show them that is because once again, we're going to wait. If we do it with brand registry, we're going to wait at least 10 days. So I say, hey,
Yeah.
if you're looking for an update every single day on every single one of your reviews, that's just not going to happen. We're not going to, bombard Amazon like that. We're going to go ahead and wait the appropriate amount of time in the back. And then when a review gets removed, the client actually gets charged instantly. So we have a credit card on file. When a review gets removed, they'll be able to see that. And the way they verify that in the back end, we have another tab that says removed. They can click on that, and what it'll do, it'll show that the review that got removed, so it still has that same review. They can see it. And they click on the
Yeah.
review ID, and it'll take them over to a Dogs of Amazon page or a 404 page, which means that review is no longer there. So that's how they verify that it's actually been removed. So, we do
Right.
that. Our thing is always more and more transparency because, most people just activate us and say, hey, go do your magic. I'm going to work on these 14 other million things that I've got going on. And then some people watch things a little more closely and ask more questions. But for us, it's always, adding new tools. We have a brand new calculator that's coming out in the next few weeks, which is just absolutely beautiful, where they can put in, how much they sell. They can put in the ASIN. It'll tell them approximately how many reviews need to be removed, when they should be breaking even, and how much more money they should make that year because of, working with us. So
Wow.
our goal is to, once again, is more transparency. Early on, people would spend money and not have an idea of what that expectation is or what the results could be. And I didn't
Yeah.
like that. I like to be able to, it's not a perfect number, but at least it gives you a general idea of, hey, I'm willing to invest this money to give this a try, and this could be the potential outcome, right? So we're
Yeah.
making better educated decisions, which I think is really important because, a lot of these businesses are, check to check, right? And they want
Yeah.
to be very cautious on how they spend their money. And I don't want to be the one to grab all of their money and have them not be able to run their business. And so,
Yeah.
we want to be able to look at this and say, all right, what do we think that number is going to be? And, I say, what is the standard deviation? But like, once again, how close is this number? It's going to be off by, let's say, 10%. Great. If we say 20, then maybe it's 18 or 22, right in that range. Great. Now you know what you're going to invest to be able to, and when you're going to be making your money back. That's what we all want to know as investors or entrepreneurs, right? I'm putting some money in.
Yeah.
When can I expect that cash back? It's always the big question.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, what's the biggest mistake you wouldn't repeat, and what's the belief that you refuse to compromise on?
Hmm. So, what I refuse to compromise on is just ethics and doing the right thing and being moral and helping businesses. Like, I won't,
Yeah.
as I said, I had two clients that, and there's true stories. I had two clients that were willing to give me on one ASIN, so one product, one SKU, they were willing to give me six figures. I had two different companies that said, hey, this one right here brings in millions a month. I would give you six figures to remove more reviews faster, and I didn't do it. Mainly because it could jeopardize their account, right? And so for me, that just, I'm never going to risk that for a dollar, even though they said, hey, do it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sometimes you got to talk people out of stuff, and it's like, hey, listen, I know this is your big seller, but we could get these same results probably, let's say, in 3 to 6 months, depending on how many reviews we need to remove. But we just
Yeah.
have to trust. We have to trust the process, right? Like, I mean, would
Right.
I like to make more money and would I like to do that? I could, right? But at the end of the day, if I know that's going to jeopardize somebody's business or hurt somebody's business, I talk people out of that, even though, I mean,
Yeah.
that could have been easily $200,000 that I could have made if I decided to say, you know what, screw it, let's go for it. But
Yeah.
that would come back to bite them in the butt too. And I don't want it to come back bite me in the butt. I want people to refer customers to us and say, hey, I know this guy does good business. I mean, we're in
Yeah.
review management, right? It's already, there's
Right.
a lot of people out there that do shady things. I put my face on the company. I have a long history, used to teach at UCLA. Like, my point of that is I want people to know that, like, listen, like, I've spent a lot of money on my personal brand. I wouldn't go throw that away for a dollar, right? So
Exactly.
that's my big thing is like, hey, just, I had a client as well, potential client, that reached out to me that had a product that they wanted us to remove reviews so they could sell the rest of it. And it was I guess it was toxic. I didn't know that, but we jumped on the call, and the guy, it admitted to me. So yeah, it's toxic, Amazon, but we got about 3,000 units. We just need to get rid of them. And I'm like, but you just said it was toxic. Like, and
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, but we want to sell them real quick. And I'm like,
Wow.
no, I'm not gonna help you do that. Like, so now, like, what happens if like something happens to a kid or adult, or now you're putting like, no, 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 that's not gonna work for me. So that was another time where I was like, listen, man, and once again, they had a big, big budget, but it's not about money to me, as much it is doing the right thing. And it's like, hey, man, I think the right thing is for you guys just to dump those product, get rid of it somehow in a safe
Yeah.
environment, right? Don't go find a local lake or anything. Like, get rid of it in the right way. And he's like, yeah, that's not
Yeah.
gonna work for us. And I was like, well, I'm not going to get these reviews removed so you guys can put some toxic stuff out in the world. That's just not going to work for me. And they came
Right.
back a few times and tried to negotiate. And I said, you guys, it's a hard no for me. Now if you guys have
Yeah.
other products, I'd love to look at those, but I'm not going to put bad stuff, into the universe and doing things because that's not, even if it didn't come back to bite me in the butt from a karma perspective, I just wouldn't feel right
Yeah.
about that. So that's one thing that I won't waver on. It's like, hey, I'm trying to protect some of these brands from themselves because they want crazy results. And it's like, hey, over time you will get those results, but we're just going to
Yeah.
have to wait. This is the process.
I feel like sometimes like if you put out bad karma, you're gonna get it back right back at you. And if you put good karma out there, you're gonna a good karma is gonna come back to you. And when you do the right thing, that's when you grow, is when you're really focusing on the right thing and you're not focusing on the dollar bill. That's when you actually grow a really good business.
Yeah, yeah, because you're not driven by money. If you're driven by money, then a lot of the times we start doing things that maybe we wouldn't have done. Like, I mean, think about
Yeah.
drugs or selling the illegal stuff. It's like, man, the money's great. Yeah, it is. But guess what? Are you eventually it'll come back. Hopefully you don't get in trouble. But anyways, it'll come back, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
what you put out in the universe does come back to you. And so, I'm a big advocate of that. I've never been hey, I'll go do something for $1 that's gonna put my family in danger, put anybody in danger. I just that's just not the way I do things. I have plenty of people that
Yeah.
I know that would for a
Right.
hot they absolutely have no issues with that. And that's their thing. I'm not here to judge them for that, but I can just know that at the end of the day, my team knows there's never a point where we're going to do anything that would jeopardize or put anybody at risk. And if we were, we just won't do it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I agree 100% with you. Now, for sellers listening, what's a 30-day playbook to protect your reputation and recover momentum if reviews have stalled growth?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a few things you can do. Obviously, you can always get more 4 and 5 star reviews. I mean, that's kind of a captain obvious statement, but getting more 4s and 5 star reviews obviously is going to be, you want to automate that as much as you can. Amazon sends out emails or messaging sometimes. There's other softwares that can make it so that you can do that as well. Highly
Yeah.
encouraged to do that. I mean, I've heard different studies, but a 1 star review that we get removed can be equal to anywhere from 10 to 25 stars. So
Right.
it's weighted different on Amazon. So a 1 star and a 5 star, not the same weight. So
Yeah.
that's one thing you got to keep in mind. It's like I've had people say, well, I'll just get more 4s and 5 stars. Absolutely do that. But just know
Right.
you're going to have to get a lot of them, right? And so, and once again, I always encourage people if I talk to them, they say, hey, we think we can do this. I tell them
Yes.
about our free tool. Like, awesome. Like,
Mhm.
give it a try because if you can, that's awesome. Like you don't need us. You don't have to pay any money to us. And I don't have a
Right.
problem with providing that free tool because once again, that's how they feed their family. So I take that as like that's awesome. But once again, if they can't figure it out, hey, we'll always be here.
I love it. Now, beyond yet Amazon, like, what do you think about expanding into a multi marketplace reputation protection?
So we've talked about that, just outside of Amazon, because Amazon, obviously, we're moving and shaking there, and we're the only company that's had the kind of success that we've had. I mean, I'm proud to
Yeah.
say that. Not to say there's not other people that are going for it. Once again, I wish them luck too. I mean, it's not an easy process. If they crack the code, then awesome, help more people. That's great. We
Yeah.
have talked about going into different platforms, and whether that be even inside Amazon for like the EU or Germany, which is a huge
Yeah.
market in Amazon. But we've also talked about Google and some other things. That way, we're not just focusing on Amazon. The hard part is what I've tried to do historically. What I've always done is like grown a business and have multiple things and grow it really, really big.
Yeah.
And but then you kind of split up your time on everything, and so we've as we are the largest company, one of the only companies that had that kind of success, we're still only 600 brands, right? I mean, there's 1.9
Mhm.
million active sellers. So I have to look at that. I have to remember in my head to not get the shiny penny syndrome where I can open up and do more things over here because I would
Yeah.
have to crack those codes. It would be easier than Amazon. We started with the hardest one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've debated on that, because it's nice to focus on just one thing and really, really become good at that. Because we used to do
Yeah.
consulting in the Amazon space, but they always say there's riches and niches, and so we tried to really just hone down on that. But you never know.
Right.
Maybe next year we might be looking at some Google and stuff. But right now, it's Amazon is where we spent our time because once again, we are the only company that's been able to have that kind of success. So I want to ride that wave as long as we can.
I love that. Yeah, for sure. Now, if you had to take today's conversation, you really wanted to emphasize on some important factors, what are some things you really like to emphasize to the listeners today?
Yeah, I mean, if you are going to be filing on your own, I want to give some helpful hints to, if they want to go and use our Amazon review checker on our website, that's free.
Yeah.
Put in your ASIN and get that report. One thing you want to think about is just giving the facts to Amazon. You don't really try to leave the emotion out of it. I know it's emotional because, your products are your baby, right? You built them up and you're
Right.
very prideful, and somebody comes and says your baby's ugly, you're going to probably have a problem with that, right? I get that, right? But you got to kind of pull back a little bit and say, okay, what do I need to do? When I'm talking to Amazon, because once again, Amazon doesn't work for you. A lot of people, sellers think that Amazon works for Amazon. So you got to bring the facts to them, show them why this review needs to be removed. My report will do answer a lot of those questions, and then great. Then you can go and file on your own. So take the emotion out of it. Don't ask for updates every single day if you file the case with Amazon. Give Amazon the appropriate amount of time, whether that be 3 days or 10 days or 15 days, depends on which department you're filing with Amazon. And just be patient. It's just going to take some
Yeah.
time, right? It's not a fast process. You're not going to get a response right away. Most of the time, Amazon will shut down the case, and you're going to have to open another one. So it can be a tedious process. And once again, if you're making a good amount of money and you're looking to delegate some stuff, delegate your accounting, delegate the review stuff, like delegate stuff that you don't want to do so you can focus on growth or focus on something. There's a certain point as an entrepreneur or solopreneur where we go from, hey, I'm going to take on everything and now I'm working 18 hours a day to, hey, I'm making a good enough money where I know my hourly, what I'm worth X amount an hour. And if I'm doing accounting stuff that takes me 7 hours when I know that I could hire somebody that takes an hour, really think about that, right? Or dividing up your
Yeah.
time and figure out what do you want to focus on. You working on accounting, there's somebody out there that's going to be way smarter than you. We call all them accountants that go and put
Yeah.
those numbers together. You can look at your profit and loss and they can break everything down for you. And then you can just go make an assessment there instead of jumping in the weeds and being worried about this, that, and the other. Once again, what can you set and forget? I give it to an accountant. They're going to go ahead and give me back the numbers. Give this to Shane Barker over at TraceFuse. They'll take care of the reviews. Do your PPC guy. They're going to give you reports. Like you can take that all on yourself, or you can just
Yeah.
delegate, assuming you have the capital to be able to get that, and then just monitor and manage it. I mean, that's really the
Yeah.
goal at the end of the day as an entrepreneur. If you're in your business every day for 18 hours a day, you don't have a sellable business. And at the end of the day, if you can't go on a vacation and come back to your business without it falling
Yeah.
apart, there's nothing you can sell there. You don't really have a business.
Right. Right. That's so true. That's great advice. Now, what type of services do you sell? Because I know you have your this business, but you also do speaking events and you do other things too. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, yeah. So I've done international speaking forever. That's more my personal brand for ShaneBarker.com. That was catapulted because I taught at UCLA and have, been in the digital space for, I don't even want to tell you how long. Wait, a long time. I'm an old man at this point, and I just turned 50 about a month and a half ago.
That's
So
not old.
I mean, the funny part is I don't feel like we say 50 and it doesn't like, but I remember as a kid, like thinking 50 was like so old. I remember looking at like your grandparents and you're like, oh man, I don't know how much longer they're going to be around. I feel awesome at 50. Like I couldn't be
Yeah.
happier, but some people are like, oh, 50. I'm like, yeah, I get up a little slower and my knees crack a little more. And, I'm not quite as good at arm wrestling, but we still get in there and make it happen.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I do a lot of speaking events. I spoke all over the world. I mean, in India and Turkey, and I've done a lot of different speaking events. Done hundreds, of not well, maybe not thousands of podcasts, but a lot of podcasts, webinars. So really, and I do a heavy amount of consulting on the Shane Barker side as well. Obviously, lead generation is going to be a big thing. Driving traffic, SEO, influencer
Yeah.
marketing. So that's really Shane Barker where I went from. We do have services there, but a lot of it is speaking and talking with people, and can be somewhat motivational as well. And once again, how to either generate leads or how to overcome certain things that clients might say. So we have some things that we've built out there, and then TraceFuse just being the main bread and butter, just because it's really taken off, and we've built a good brand there, and good things are happening,
Yeah.
and we're helping a lot of people. So that's where I focus most of my time. But Shane Barker, we just revamped the website about 4 months ago, so very proud of that. Looks pretty awesome, and once again, we're kind of excited to see where that goes.
I love it. I love it. Now, if people want to get in touch with you, where's the best place to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the emails are going to be simple. If you want to get a hold of me at TraceFuse, it's just Shane SHANE at TraceFuse, and that's TRACEFUSE.ai. Or if you want to reach out to me on the Shane Barker side, if you're looking for more PR, marketing, lead generation, that type of stuff, SEO, that's going to be Shane at ShaneBarker.com. So it's once again SHANE at SHANEBARKER.com.
I love it. I love it. Now, before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience that we didn't cover today?
No, no, other than what we will do is I'll give you guys the Amazon review checker link where they can go and run that free report. So what we do is
Yes.
we'll include that in the notes where they can go and they can click on that, go and put in their ASIN and get a report for free. So they can run those reports and file on those ASINs and hopefully they get reviews removed.
I love it. I love it. This has been amazing, Shane. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You really provided us with a whirlwind of information. There are so many people out there that are interested in getting, negative reviews, especially when, they don't deserve it. And so many people are interested in the proper SEO and lead magnets and all that stuff. I hear people all the time. Sometimes, I've met hundreds and hundreds of people and they have great services, great products, but they lack in either SEO or lead generation or certain things, and or they're getting those bad reviews and they're being sabotaged. And you see a lot of that stuff unfortunately in today's world. And you can hire people from third world countries and they'll be happy to do those things too. So I'm glad that you shed light on a lot of these things, and you provide services that could actually help a lot of businesses, especially the small businesses that are really, trying to strive and grow, and you're there for them. So thank you so much for providing this world of wisdom today. And thank you just for being you, and your ethics and moral and core values are amazing.
Thank you so much, Jace. That means a lot coming from you. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're very welcome. And you have a great day.
Yeah, you do the same.